All right, so I guess we're live at this point. Hello there. We'll just take a minute as people get here and we get settled in. All right, go ahead and say hey in the comments so I can see that you're with me, and we'll keep going today. We're going to talk about a book called Good to Great by Jim Collins, and excited to talk about some of the most important business principles that you'll see in it, and it's good stuff. So definitely looking forward to doing that. I've got some of his charts and some of his graphs as well, and we will look at those and hopefully learn a thing or two about business from a bestseller, from a famous book. All right. Let me see. I'm not seeing anyone say hello yet. That's all right. We'll get there. Okay, I just saw my first thumbs up. How exciting! All right, hello there, whoever that was, and just want to jump in, talk about the book a little bit while we're waiting. So Good to Great is one of probably the top 10 or so most important business books that we have. That describe how we can take an organization and transform it and really make it into something that is the maximum potential it can be, and how to take the things in an organization that are good and transform them. Normally we only change the things that are bad and the things that are hurting us, but his business principles in this book would encourage you to think differently, not just to change the things that are bad, but even to transform the good into the great. And so what you'll see in a lot of books, modern books, is they will put their most important sentence as the very beginning of the book. Maybe in older times they would wait, they would introduce this idea, and maybe in the third or fourth chapter they would hit you. But with this one, the first sentence in the book is, "Good is the enemy of great," and that's so true. And he explains that idea. We normally don't fix something until it really breaks. And he talks about how the reason we don't have great something is because we have a good version of it. We don't have a great company because we have a good one and we're satisfied with it. And so what we can talk about today is how to change our expectations to be satisfied only with being great, and hopefully that will help us improve the way we do everything we do. So having said that, let me share my screen with you, and we'll get into some of the parts of this book. Let me see here. Give me just a minute. Okay. All right. So let's jump to the very beginning here. All right. Who is this book for? Well, this book is perfect for anyone running or working in a company, which is pretty much all of us, right? It will highlight what it is that makes a company good and will show you ways to make it even better. The author, Jim Collins, has put together a list of companies that went from good to great and compares this to what he considers to be mediocre companies. This helps to identify what separates the elite from the rest. Whether you own a business or work for someone, this book is full of helpful insights that will help you change the way you and others around you work. So Jim Collins was having a conversation with some of his friends, and he was talking about great companies. His friend mentioned that he was talking about great companies, and they can stay great. And most companies that are really big, they've just been big for such a long time. And so we can't really look at their methods and say they're going to help a small company, because that big successful company has always been big and has always been successful. And so his friend was saying, listen, you need principles for companies that were small, that were not that great, that learned how to dominate their market, that learned how to become something. Because the people who you're speaking to aren't sitting as the CEO of Google or Apple. They're people who want to be that, and they want to get there. And so he started this study of thousands of companies that ended with just a handful. And as he studied these companies, he saw which ones made the cut, which ones were ordinary and were successful, but not especially so, and became something. So let's take a look here at his model. So he talks about what we need to go from good to build up into a breakthrough, to become great, to become something new. He says we need level 5 leadership. We'll talk about what that means. And then we'll have first who, then what. That is a really important question when it comes to hiring, when it comes to management. Who, then what? Confront the brutal facts. And then the hedgehog concept. Hedgehog is an animal that he draws an interesting illustration from. And then the culture of discipline, and lastly, technology accelerators. And I see Mekram there. Hi, hope you're doing well. I see some comments there. So good. We'll jump into what does it mean to be a level 5 leader. So here's this pyramid that shows different levels of leadership, and we should probably start at the bottom. Because we normally think of the bottom of the pyramid maybe as not that important or not that good, but you'll see here that he says it is good. And so a highly capable individual is a level 1. This is somebody who makes productive contributions through talent, knowledge, skills, good work habits. This is your ideal worker, and being level 1 is not a bad thing. You just have level 1 people in level 1 positions. And so this person is highly capable, and this is what you want in your company. Then level 2 would be a contributing team member. So step up, and this one is looking more into group objectives. And so maybe they're showing some more actual leadership and not just being a good worker, but leading. And you can notice the biggest difference here is that there's a group setting. And so from level 1 to level 2 is again the group setting. Level 3 is a competent manager. This is not a bad manager. This is a great manager. Organizes people and resources toward the effective and efficient pursuit of predetermined objectives. So as we keep moving up, an effective leader catalyzes commitment to and vigorous pursuit of a clear and compelling vision, stimulating high performance standards. So this person would be above a manager, and this is where Collins says most companies stop. Most people can find 1 or 2 effective leaders, and that's who is leading these good companies. And so what he says the key to all of this is a level 5 executive. So what is that? This is someone who builds enduring greatness through a paradoxical blend of personal humility and professional will. That's a lot of big words right on top of each other. I know that, but what he's saying here is that these big leaders are not what you would see on the front page of a newspaper. This is not your, oh, this person is super wealthy and they just show that off and whatever they say, everybody does it. No, there's humility here and professional will, not personal gain here. This person is selfless. This person is not thinking about their own success. They're thinking only about the company. And so I think here, if we were to take some of his bullet points of leaders and leadership, it would probably be good. Interesting that Jeff Bezos from Amazon, when he read this book, he called up Jim Collins, and he had Jim Collins come and survey all of Amazon and try and implement these principles and make sure they had people at all levels in the right place. So this is being used all over the world. So leaders and leadership, first of all, they're modest and humble. So again, not your movie star leader, not somebody who's just going to be strong. This person who's really the heart of the company is modest and humble. He's not thinking about himself. He's thinking about the good of the company and of those around him. I love the second point. Sets others up for the successes and the wins. Focuses on other people's successes more than their own. Yes, I think that's a perfect example of a good leader. Are they trying to help me succeed? Maybe you've experienced having a manager take credit for what you did and take credit for all of your work, and you worked hard, and they said, well, this is what I did. But this manager, this leader is setting up for your success. If anything, they take the blame from you and they say, yes, I could have done better training him. But no, they're interested in your success. Unwavering resolve. To waver is to move, to shake, to change. And this resolve doesn't change. They have one main goal. Yes. Hello there, Huda. I hope you're doing well. I see that. Good. They care more about the company than their own profile. Their ambition remains within the company and its goals, not about their own personal progression. So to have ambition within that company, within it, instead of trying to further his career and get to another place with a higher salary. No, this is what a great company has. A great company has this. And then they have what Collins describes as a ferocious resolve, an almost stoic determination to do whatever needs to be done to make the company great. Narjis, hello. And probably the best summary here is an individual who blends extreme personal humility with intense professional will. So those two things, we call them paradoxical because we don't see them together often. Someone who's humble and they have determination. But that's what a level 5 leader is. And so, do you know examples of level 5 leaders in the world? Have you seen that before? Have you seen it in your own company? And then another question I have is, if you're in a leadership position, how can you demonstrate humility? And how can you use these things to lead people instead of maybe what ordinary good companies do? Those are questions that I would ask if this were a table discussion. You feel free to write those things in the comments. I'm in hello and welcome to the live. I think we could all work on being more effective leaders and do a better job of that. And so often we try and use power, and we try to use our position to get people to do what we want them to do. But as we move on into the next section, we'll see that Collins says that does not work. And so if we go back here, we have first who, then what. Collins gives the illustration of a bus. And he says, maybe some people are unhappy in the bus because they're in the wrong seat. Let's get the right people in the bus, and then let's get them in the right seat. And then we can focus on where we're going. So a lot of people would first think, where does my company need to go, and what are we supposed to do? But he says, focus on who, get the right people, and the right people in a company can do anything. You don't know what you will need to adjust to in the future. I think of COVID-19 as a great example. We couldn't prepare for that. We couldn't say the bus is going this direction. We're going to work from home, work online. Most of you don't work in companies that planned for that. But if you focus on who, if you get the best people and you get the right people, then it doesn't matter where the bus is going. The right people are in the right seats. It takes a level 5 leader to notice when somebody's not doing the right job because they have skills elsewhere. Not just maybe they're not an excellent manager, but they would be great in sales. Maybe they would be great in another position. Hello there, Amel, as well. Just want to say hi. And we're just discussing these principles. So what Collins does is he gives you some hiring tips, how to get the right people in the right position on the bus. And these probably more than anything change the way that businesses hire. So notice point 1, look for good character over skills and education. You can't teach character, but you can provide education and training. That is a famous phrase, by the way. You can't teach good character. That's something that's one of the few things you can't teach. And so you can teach somebody how to do everything else, but get people with good character in your company. And then number 2, this one's interesting that he would say, if you have any doubts, don't hire the person. Follow your instincts, even if you don't have another option. You don't need to hire somebody right now. It's much better to have an opening than to have the wrong person in a position that needs someone. Let the opening stay there. If you have any doubts, don't hire. The right person will come along, and that's better. It's certainly better. Follow your instincts. That means even if you can't identify what the feeling is, why that person isn't a right fit, he says, wait. And then if you find that you have the wrong set of people, act fast and change this. Do it sooner rather than later. This one is tough because people are tough. And there's entire TV series and shows that are based on the fact that when someone is bad at their job, they still aren't fired. I think of The Office, and the British version and the US version are formulated on this idea that even if you're bad at your job, you can't be fired. We have a phrase in English to say somebody got kicked upstairs. It means instead of firing them because it's hard to do, people get promoted. They promote people and they transfer them out to another branch. Get them out of my way. Well, that's an easier solution for the short term for this company, because firing someone is difficult, and maybe even you have to find all the paperwork to get the reason right, and it's uncomfortable, and there's a million reasons not to. But he says you've got to act fast. Get the people out if they don't belong, and don't make up lots of excuses to keep somebody there. It's okay to let somebody go in the process of making your company great. Obviously, you must do that in a legal way with and be sure. But the best thing you can do is get somebody out if they don't belong in your company. And the people that do the best work, have them working where the opportunities are rather where the problems are. Use them for development and progression rather than damage control. This is where they are the most beneficial. Maybe some of you feel that in your company if you are very talented, and your job might put you on a job where you're putting out fires. You're meeting with dissatisfied clients. And there's a time and a place to put your best people on a problem, but the way to become great is to take risks and to put your best people on where the opportunities are, where the new markets are, where the new things are, so that you can have an edge. Let your average people put out the fires, put out the immediate problems, the ones that take minimal creativity. And let your best people be on the front lines, finding new ways to do things, new ways to sell, new ways to market. So that's where you should put your best people. More tips about leaders and how to deal with problems come next, with dealing with the brutal facts. How do we deal with the brutal facts here? Just some tips again. I know there's some lists. I have some pictures coming. So if you were a visual learner, Hope is on the way. We will get to a chart here. You should engage your workers with questions instead of answers. And this is useful for more than just leaders, but you should be asking questions to your workers. And that's what great companies do. They don't just give you information and tell you if you agree or disagree. They're going to really get into the details of what the problem is. And a good leader knows that his workers are more aware of the problems than he is. And so that's why a leader will be asking questions like this. Use debate and conversation as the first tools, never coercion. Remember that everyone is entitled to not only having their say, but also being heard. Make sure you truly listen and engage with everyone's opinions. This one is really important for me, and I think of several times in previous jobs where I didn't want my company to do something differently, but I did want them to hear what was going on. And after they heard me and they truly listened, it was okay with me, whatever decision they were going to make. And most workers will feel satisfied and do their best work in a company where they feel they can be heard anytime. That is super important. And so if you are a manager, one thing you can ask yourself is, when is the last time I heard that person, that employee? Make a list. Say, when have I really heard them last? And even if you think they're wrong about most things, are you listening to them? Or do you not consider them someone worth listening to because you know what they think already? Again, difference between a level 5 and a level 4, level 3. Never place blame. That's a big one, right? You did this, it's your fault. Everyone wants to make sure it was somebody else's fault so they don't pay the penalty. But never place blame. You can deconstruct a problem without shoving someone under the bus. So true. So shoving somebody under the bus, by the way, is a great English phrase. Trying to think of how I would describe it. If I'm late and my friend is late too, it's possible for me to tell my boss that we didn't get here on time. It's also possible for me to say, well, he woke up late and that's why we couldn't find a taxi in time. Or he did this and that. I'm throwing him under the bus. I'm putting all the blame on him. This could be with true information or with false information. But you can deconstruct a problem without blame. And as a superior, as a manager, what you do in this situation is you don't reward blame from your employees. You don't reward someone saying, well, it was his fault and he did this. You hear them, but we don't create a culture of blame, because that's not deconstructing the problem. That's figuring out who to punish for the problem. So building red flag mechanisms would be another example of how to avoid placing blame. So you say, well, we don't say that. We don't just blame our coworkers. We say our own contribution to the problem, and we stop there. We don't need to blame somebody. And if you have a bad employee and you want to be nice, and this is one of my problems, I love being nice to people. You don't give people false hope. This only demotivates them. As long as your people are right for the job, they will be motivated to solve the problems. If I only say to everyone, oh, your English is perfect, your accent is great, they won't learn, right? So we have to find that balance of finding out things that are both positive and true, and not hiding the negative. If I'm speaking a new language, I want to know what my mistakes are. And if I'm in a company, I need to know what my mistakes are. Don't give false hope. You don't need to. We have hope. We have ways to give hope in a way that's real. Okay, good. By the way, here I am talking about leadership and these things. If you have a question, feel free to leave it in the comments. I'd love some more interaction here, and that would be fun. And so feel free to do that. All right. So we have three circles in the discussion here. It's really important to see this chart, and there's a place in the center where all three of these subjects intersect. So you have to have a real understanding of what you can be best at in the whole world. And this is something that a lot of companies unfortunately don't think about. They want to be good enough at most things, but they're not as interested, at being the best in the world at something. They don't have enough drive, and they don't have high enough goals to say we're going to be the best. And then what are you deeply passionate about? This would be mainly from the perspective of the level 5 leader. And even when he's talking about this in the book, he talks about cigarette companies. And he says the cigarette companies that succeeded the most, the executives smoke. He says the executives say that life is better with cigarettes, even with the health problems. And it was that passion for smoking that helped them in every little decision in their company, put them over the top, over the competition. So they want to be the best in the world at the thing that they're also passionate about. And thirdly, the thing that drives their economic engine. This is the thing people are paying money for. And so what can we be the best in the world at is not the only question. We have to ask all three questions, and the answer must be one answer. So as far as how to apply this, it's certainly something we should all ask ourselves. Whatever company we're in, what is the company answer to all three of these, and what would the intersection look like? Good. Again, if you want to throw a comment in, I'm happy to answer. Also, lastly, he does talk about creating a culture. And this is near the end of the presentation. So just so that you know, if you have questions, please feel free to ask them. He says, avoid bureaucracy and hierarchy. So avoiding this kind of idea of, I can't do this because my position prevents me from doing it. Or I can't say this because if my manager hears that I had this idea, which is not in my department, there will be problems. Avoid that. Allow freedom, allow responsibility. And the word I like here is autonomy. Autonomy. Inspire a culture that's creative and hardworking. Ensure that your people are self-disciplined. They also need to be passionate and willing to work extra hard when required. For me, I love it when somebody, I think it was 4 years ago, I was working and my boss came up to me and she said, Casey, we have a problem and I don't know how to solve it, but I just want to tell you the problem and I'm going to leave it with you, and I've got some other stuff to do. That made me so happy because I felt like she trusted me, not only to think of a good solution, but to solve the problem without her needing to be there. And so that was so much motivation for me. And she created that culture where if you were good at something, you could do it. Not only would you do it, but other responsibilities you had that you maybe didn't like as much would be replaced by the things you liked. And yes, ensuring that they're self-disciplined and then giving them that freedom and responsibility. Those two go hand in hand. Then he says, focus in on the hedgehog concept. What's the hedgehog concept? Well, we don't have time to talk about everything in the book, but he talks about the fox and the hedgehog. The fox is a very clever animal, right? And so the fox is always looking for a new way to get something. And he's looking at it from different angles and different things. And if the fox is going after the hedgehog, what does the hedgehog do? The hedgehog has one defense mechanism, right? Curls up into its spiny self, and the sharp points come out, and nothing can get it. Well, the hedgehog has one good thing that it does, and he knows it works, and so he trusts in that. And so the best companies have that one good thing. You got companies like Walgreens in America. It's just a convenience store. They just sell simple, basic things in their pharmacy. But they decided that being the best at something ordinary was more important than being always on the edge of something innovative, because the innovations kind of come and go like the fox. The hedgehog always wins because he has one unbeatable thing. So find out what is your one unbeatable thing and stick to that. And that's the hedgehog concept he talks about here. I don't have time to show you, but if you search on YouTube, you can watch great videos of hedgehog defense. I'm sure National Geographic has specials on them. This one, probably for me, is the one I'm going to focus on the most. Have a stop doing list to ensure you and others stop wasting time on unnecessary things. Wow. The world could benefit from more stop doing lists, I think. So if a company has that, what are the implications? What are the expectations? The expectations are that we're not at peak efficiency right now. We have some bad habits as a company, and we need to stop doing those things. So having the stop doing list encourages people to be open about what those deficiencies are. And let's stop having meetings that last an hour when the last 15 minutes are never helpful, for example. Or let's stop, I don't know, whatever it is that you're doing in your company. To have a list like that is very helpful. And then lastly, if something doesn't fit into your creative culture, then don't do it. Don't embark on collaborations unless you're working in the same direction for the same reasons. Don't do unrelated work. And he talks about this with technology as well. Your technology should be making your life easier. It should be making the things you love doing easier. It's harder. For example, if you have people who person to person sales and they're experts at that, it's probably best not to just force them to learn an online platform so that they can do more sales. If you want to be the best in the world at person to person, you need a technology that makes that easier and more real, not something that's going to frustrate your salesman and make things more difficult. And so whatever your creative culture is, whatever you're trying to be the best at, don't worry if every other company in the world is doing something that doesn't fit you and doesn't fit your company. So part of that is having that determination and resolve that doesn't change when something else maybe in the world does. So as we get to near the end of the discussion, what can you do to help your company to be or stay great, to get into that place of greatness? What are you? Are you level 1 leader, level 2? Are you wanting to be level 5? What can you do personally to become a better leader? So I'm going to pop this down back into the picture here without the presentation. But so I want to ask if there's any questions, if there's any other thoughts, but I'll stay on the live for a bit here. If you had any questions about what we could learn from the book, feel free to ask. Anything here? You can get lots of different summaries online. By the way, YouTube has a great video summary of this. It's like 5 minutes. Highly recommend that you take a look at that. It's certainly worth your time. I certainly didn't cover 100% of the book in this session, so there's more. All right, anything else? Well, I do want to thank everyone that's watching and learned something today. I hope it was good for you. And again, I would encourage you, search Good to Great on YouTube and listen to some of those summaries. It's a great way to learn more about leadership and more about how to transform a company. Remember, good is the enemy of great. And just because something is working doesn't mean we shouldn't try and transform it. So uh, if that's all, then we can finish up. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.